Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
It is the Josh Graham Show, where the vibes on this beautiful Saturday afternoon just immaculate. Yours truly, a diehard, lifelong Carolina Hurricanes fan, so we'll have to get to them. Unbeaten content when the host is trying to get to something but then gets cut off. Unbeaten content tops anything smart that you say throughout the show. Yes, at any point we are obnoxious in talking about those Hurricanes, feel free to fire that thing off. We'll get to them shortly now that they've advanced to the Stanley Cup final, but morale is also high because of the two greatest words in sports tonight. Game 7, let's start there. Especially in the analytics age we live in, we tend to overanalyze things. Look at how this player shot at this spot on the floor, and look at the splits for this player in this gym versus another, and you can go all the way down the list. It's kind of like when you're in high school and you receive a text from your high school crush that you start overthinking. Dude, she texted hey with 3 Y's, used an emoji and 2 exclamation points. Sounds like things are getting pretty serious. We do this in sports, but sometimes sports are quite simple. And Game 7 of Spurs-Thunder is one of those instances. The Spurs are going to win this game because the Spurs have Victor Wembanyama and the Oklahoma City Thunder do not. When he has a strong game in this series, San Antonio wins. When he doesn't play well, they lose. Sometimes sports can be as simple as that. And do you want to align yourself with the team that has the best player on the court, that decides whether or not his team wins or not? Or do you want to side against that player? When he exceeds his season average of 25 points and grabs at least 5 rebounds. Remember, this is a guy who averages 11 rebounds on the year. So that's the mark. Exceeding your season scoring average, 25 points, and grabbing at least 5 boards. That's it. The Spurs are 3-0 in this series. When he's either held under 25 points or under 5 boards in a game, he had that one weird game where he went for 26 and 4. The 4 rebounds, that's the fewest amount of rebounds he's had this entire season, other than the 2 games that he got hurt or suspended in these playoffs. Suspended, ejected against Minnesota. And in that game, he still even had 4 rebounds and a quarter and change. They're 0-3 in the games that he's held under 5 boards or under 25 points. So if Wemby gets past the 5 rebound threshold, which he's going to do, and exceeds his scoring average, San Antonio wins the basketball game. And here's what made what he did in Game 6 all the more scary. Wemby didn't just score 28 points in that game. He did it in 28 minutes, number one. And number two, he did it almost exclusively by hitting jump shots at 7'4". So if Wemby can get inside at all and have that type of impact he normally does, and he's hitting jumpers, it's a helpless place to be if you're Oklahoma City. You just can't really defend it. So San Antonio has Victor Wembanyama. Oklahoma City doesn't. The other piece that matters so much, especially when you advance further in the playoffs, is health. And the other reality, the Spurs are healthier than the Thunder are right now. Jalen Williams officially ruled out of Game 7 later tonight, re-aggravated his hamstring injury that kept him out for a lot of the regular season, for a long stretch of the regular season. That happened earlier in this series. Meanwhile, Dylan Harper, who got banged up the same game that J-Dub did, he has been playing, but he had a few subpar games where clearly he looked limited, he looked hampered, he didn't really look himself until Game 6. 18 points, great from the field, great from three. Dylan Harper returned to his normal form in Game 6, and that is a scary thought, thinking Dylan Harper is now back. Victor Wembanyama is scoring without having to get inside on you. And also, there is no intimidation factor with the Oklahoma City Thunder from the perspective of the Spurs. San Antonio has already won in that building. That was Game 1, the double overtime classic. Also the only game that was really super close in the series. All the others have been decided by 9 points or more. The Spurs also own the full season series. 3 out of the 4 regular season matchups. You had the play-in tournament matchup, and now 3-3 split in the series so far. San Antonio has just had Oklahoma City's number, and once again, a lot of those have been by double digits. So it's understandable when you look at Oklahoma City being the champion and you look at some of the betting odds that say Oklahoma City is favored to win, and you look at some of the advanced metrics. Well, look at this. And sometimes you could just look at things simply. Who is the best player on the floor? San Antonio. Who is healthier right now? San Antonio. And who wins more often when these two teams go head-to-head? San Antonio. The Spurs are going to win Game 7 later tonight. This segment, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance. They protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. Will Dalton, there's a lot of tension on this show. Will Dalton's the producer of this program. There's a lot of tension beneath the surface because you are a North Carolina Tar Heel fan. I, for those watching on YouTube and on X at Josh Graham Show, on YouTube at Westwood One Sports Night, that feed, I've got my East Carolina Pirates hat on. In about an hour, East Carolina is going to face North Carolina in the winner's bracket of an NCAA baseball tournament game. So that's dramatic. How are we going to handle that? Sarah Sivian's going to join us in an hour too, by the way.
We're just going to beat you. That's how we're going to handle that.
I meant you and I on the show, not the baseball.
Well, you know what? We have practice. We have practice at this because I'm a Yankee fan. You're an Oriole fan. And, so this isn't our first go-round at this sort of thing. But
it does happen.
Like I said before, just going to beat you the way we handle the Orioles, too. Just going to do that.
Sarah Sivian, Bleacher Report, Too Many Men pod in 1 hour going to drop by. But that's actually not the most awkward thing to get to. Anytime we start our show, Will, I say that the guy taking your calls at 310-840-4910 is Josh Jacobs. Yes, that Josh Jacobs. This is the first time I will say that's not actually the Josh Jacobs because not a great week. Josh, has there been a funny occurrence to come from that this week? Not a funny situation with that Josh Jacobs, but the fact that you share the same name.
Nothing right now, but it's just kind of like, I'm kind of like hesitant to tell people what my name is because of that.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Josh Jacobs. No, I haven't been to jail.
Yeah.
Haven't been arrested. Nothing of the sort. Do want to talk about the NFC North. We'll do that in just a bit. Let's shift things to the Carolina Hurricanes. Yes, they're in the Stanley Cup final. Okay. Feel like we have to justify this. We're on in 300 plus markets across the country on Westwood One Sports. My name's Josh Graham. It's the Josh Graham Show. I live in North Carolina. I am a diehard Carolina Hurricanes fan. I have loved this team for decades. Grew up 30 minutes north of Raleigh where they play their games in a town called Youngsville, North Carolina. I love this team. They're facing the Vegas Golden Knights. Game 1 of the Cup final is on Tuesday night. This is my appeal to you. Just give me this few minutes to make the case why you should care. Because I can feel it, Will. I can feel it in every corner of this country right now to people who are listening to my voice. Josh, it's a small market hockey team. It's the Cup final, but yeah, there's Game 7 tonight in the NBA. What are you doing, Graham?
Especially Montreal. They really don't want to hear this.
There are three reasons why you should care about what the Carolina Hurricanes are doing. This is the case we'll make. Number one, they are on pace for one of the greatest postseason runs we've seen in modern sports history. Not just the NHL, modern sports, team sports, postseason sports, certainly series-oriented sports. This playoff format, which is similar to what the NBA's had for decades and decades, it's 40 years old, where you have to win 16 games to win the Stanley Cup. These Canes are the first team to sweep the first two series, best of 7 series, and also the first team to enter the Cup final with a 12-1 record or better. The 1987-1988 Edmonton Oilers have the record for the fewest wins or fewest games played on their way to a Cup win. They went 16-2. It took 18 games for them to win the Cup. One of the greatest teams ever. You're talking about Wayne Gretzky. You're talking about 7 Hall of Famers. You're talking about one of the greatest teams of all time. If the Hurricanes sweep the Knights, if the Hurricanes even win in 5, well, they win in 5, they match Edmonton. If they sweep, they set a new record. 16-1 to win a final? That's crazy. Even if it goes 6, then you're talking about no other team other than the Oilers has won in fewer than 20 games. So history's on the line here. We should appreciate greatness, and this is as great as anything we've seen in this sport, or really in many American sports in a while. Number 2, this playoff run should silence some of the Tom Dundon noise in Portland. The same way he's being called cheap as the new owner of the Trailblazers. He had those same accusations in Raleigh. You just probably didn't notice it because, well, hockey's covered different than the NBA. It's more of a regional coverage thing versus a national coverage, what we're seeing in the NBA. He let go of a popular local announcer, actually a couple of them. He didn't want to pay them. He cut corners, but he never was cheap with the roster. And he transformed that building. He transformed that organization for the better, where now Raleigh is a hockey town. There are no more talks about relocation. They got that thing humming in a way that should be respected. So maybe rather than jumping to the conclusion that the guy that just paid over $4 billion is cheap, paid $4 billion for the Blazers, maybe it's wise to give him the benefit of the doubt for now, recognizing what he just did with the Canes, and perhaps think maybe he knows a little of what he is doing. The third reason you should care about what the Canes are doing. Rod Brind'Amour has become one of the best stories in sports. Since moving to North Carolina from Hartford, the Hartford Whalers to the Carolina Hurricanes, the Hurricanes have won exactly 99 playoff games in their history. Rod Brind'Amour has either been a player or the head coach for 97 of those 99 wins. There's nothing quite like that in sports. When you talk about the impact someone's had as the head coach and as one of the best players, his number was retired in the rafters of Lenovo Center, the place they call the Lenny in Raleigh, before he ever coached a game with Carolina. Just imagine how magical it would be if he led the same franchise, he captained to a Stanley Cup win 20 years ago next month, to another title as the head coach. Those are reasons you should care. But if you don't care about any of that, Jacobs, just hit me with the damn horn one more time for good measure. Getting to football. There is one division that the odds to win it are absolutely bat bleep insane. Don't understand it, and there's blatant disrespect at the heart of it, and that's next on the Josh Graham Show.
The Super Bowl champion Seahawks, MVP Matthew Stafford's Rams, and Mike Vrabel's Patriots are all back on the field for OTAs. Football news is happening now, and no one covers it like your home of the NFL and Super Bowl 61. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Yes, it does. 310-840-4510 if you want in on the Josh Graham Show, Westwood One Sports across the country, where we're asking this question. Can you explain to me, like I'm 5, why the Chicago Bears have the third best odds to win the NFC North? That is the question that we're asking. Or maybe more broadly, who should be favored to win the NFC North division? Let's dive into it. Why don't we? The NFC North is set up for the Chicago Bears to win it again. Yes, 11-6 last season with a first-year head coach, a second-year quarterback, an aspiring, ascending roster, won it by multiple games. They should be favored to win it again, even though they are not. It is set up for them. Just look at the other 3 teams that are in that division right now. Everybody else seems to be going the wrong way. The Minnesota Vikings are rudderless right now. They fired their GM in January, still haven't hired the replacement. Remember, that was supposed to happen right after the draft. Don't know who that's going to be yet. That's a great sign of organizational health. And then a Hail Mary attempt to improve their QB room. They bring in Kyler Murray to compete with the guy 2 years ago they selected in the top 12, even though that guy performed well in December. They won 9 games this past year. He's 23, 24 years old, and we got a controversy on our hands in Minnesota all of a sudden. And if you don't believe that, here was J.J. McCarthy this week on the addition of Kyler Murray to that locker room.
What's your relationship been like with Kyler so far?
It's just like 2 guys in a classroom. He sits on one side, I sit on the other side, and it's the coach's responsibility to teach us and coach us. So,
is there any awkwardness between you two?
Awkwardness, it's just like the same feeling, when you're in high school and there's another person on the other side of the room. That's just kind of how it is. So I wouldn't say there's any awkwardness.
Yes. One guy sitting on one side of the room. That guy's sitting on the other side of the room. What could be awkward about that? Do you not understand? Need to say it twice for you? It's not awkward because we're just 2 guys sitting in a room. Couple of bros. What are you even talking about? There's nothing awkward here. So that's going to go real well. The Green Bay Packers remain stuck in neutral. 3 straight years, Green Bay has finished with the 7th spot in the NFC standings. 7th in the NFC standings. So completely mediocre? Maybe a little better than that? They had one of the worst playoff losses you could have. One of the most disastrous second halves from a coaching perspective you can have Matt LaFleur had against a division rival in the playoffs, losing to Chicago. And despite that, they not only keep Matt LaFleur, they give him a contract extension. And then to boot, Josh Jacobs is in legal trouble. Not the guy taking your calls at 310-840-4910 on this show, but the running back, Josh Jacobs. Just need to point that out as a lookout to our guy, JJ. So the Packers, what makes you think they're going to be better than where they are? They're stuck in neutral. Then you have the Detroit Lions, who seem like they really missed their window in 2023 and 2024. NFL windows, they don't stay open long, especially for teams that generally aren't the best run. And the reality is, for the Detroit Lions, who throughout their history have not had much playoff success, you blew it against San Francisco in the 2023 NFC Championship game. You blew it when you were 15-2 and lost your first playoff game at home to the Washington Commanders in 2024. 2 years later, that window is closing because you're not the hot team anymore. Your offensive coordinator during those years now is the head coach in Chicago, which brings us to the odds in that division, courtesy of our friends at DraftKings. Chicago has the third best odds to win this division. They are behind the Lions. They are behind the Packers. Let's go ahead and smash Chicago plus 320 to win the NFC North right now. Don't wait an extra minute. This is nuts, considering they won the NFC North. They're the reigning North champions. They won it by multiple games. They won a playoff game. They got a star quarterback who's going into year 2. In year 3, they got a coach who's going into year 2. Like, this is a team that isn't taking steps back. This is a team that's taking steps forward. And it's not just those two pieces. Like, when you look at how young this offense is and the opportunities for them to take crazy steps, Rome Odunze going into year 3, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland going into year 2. This is a team that's going to take steps forward, and if that happens, they're going to win that division. But what a story the Chicago Bears are. Nationally speaking, the Bears are going to be one of the greatest draws in the NFL this year. This is why they had, when the schedule came out earlier this month, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, 7 standalone games on the schedule. Second most in the league. 5 primetime games, plus Thanksgiving at the Lions, Christmas Day at home against the Packers. And this makes sense because the NFL is more interesting when the Bears are good, when Chicago is relevant. And that franchise has maybe never had a quarterback like the Iceman Caleb Williams. And Will, if you want to talk about disrespect, the season begins. There are only 2 teams that won the division last year, their NFL division, that are not favored to win their division this year. One is the Chicago Bears. The other is the Carolina Panthers. Well, actually, that's not true. I see that the Buffalo Bills are favored over the New England Patriots. But your Carolina Panthers, WD, are facing the Chicago Bears in Charlotte in week 1. We can just go ahead and call this the Can't Get No Respect Bowl. Shout out to Rodney Dangerfield. Get no respect.
I mean, it essentially is. And then, of course, there's the ties to that number 1 overall pick that got Bryce Young in 2023 and then Caleb in 2024. So there's the ties there. Fun matchup for week 1.
Sneaky fun. But who should be the favorites to win the NFC North? 310-840-4910. Let's see what Andy in Washington State thinks. You're the first caller on the Josh Graham Show today. Let's make it a good one, Andy.
All right. Hey, Josh. Nice to talk to you. I'm feeling the Lions being kind of a sneaky champion of the NFC North because I don't hear a lot of buzz about them right now. And
can they be sneaky though, Andy? If they're the actual favorites, like they're favored to win it.
Oh, and then I think Chicago comes right behind them. I'm not a real fan. I don't see the Packers being there, but it still seems a little sneaky for me about Detroit. I don't hear a lot of buzz.
Here's the case for Detroit. The case for Detroit is this. Schedule comes out. You look at where they finished in the division this past year. You get a third-place schedule. They have, based on strength of schedule from this past year, the easiest schedule in the NFL. The Detroit Lions have that. That's number one. Number two, they've had injuries. And generally, if you have a ton of injuries one year, you kind of revert back to the mean and you're healthier, or at least knock on wood. That's what Detroit's wondering. And if you want to knock Chicago, their defense wasn't amazing, and they also were great beneficiaries of turnover margin. And history has shown us teams that generally are really good at turnover margin get the ball bounced their way one year. After all, the thing is oblong-shaped. And then the year after that, you don't get quite as many bounces. That's the case.
Yeah, I hear where you're coming from, but if I'm listening to the chatter and to the talk, have you heard much about the Lions, even though they are favored? Have you heard a lot of talk about them? Because all we hear is Bears talk.
I hear you. Appreciate the call. I hear a lot from the folks in Detroit. Shout out to our friends at 97.1 that might be listening to this right now. And it's weird. Lions fans are not as optimistic about their team. They're down on their team. And maybe that's colored some of the influence. Maybe hearing from a lot of Lions fans by doing a job such as this, I hear a lot of the negative chatter more than positive. So when I saw the odds that Detroit was actually favored, it surprised me a little bit. So more so, the question should be, who should be the favorites to win the North? I say Chicago. You say Detroit. The odds makers say Detroit. 310-840-4910. We do have Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals tonight. Spurs-Thunder. And there is some news related to the Spurs that is kind of flying under the radar a bit. Spurs assistant Sean Sweeney has chosen to be the head coach of the Orlando Magic. He'll continue to coach throughout the playoff run. That could be one more game. It could be the NBA Finals as well. But after that, he will be the head coach of the Orlando Magic. And this is a decision that will have ripple effects in the league. Number one, congratulations to the Orlando Magic. You are officially in the Giannis sweepstakes. They have a competitive roster. You look at the team, they have a lot of really good players. Paolo Banchero, Desmond Bane, that trade that they made last year, it shows us how aggressive, how all in this front office, this ownership group is to be competitive, be aggressive right now. But Sweeney coached Giannis for 5 seasons as an assistant in Milwaukee. So there's a connection there. He seemed to be one of the promising hotshot assistants. That's why a lot of teams with openings were contacting Sweeney, wanted to go after him. There was a report this week. There is a 0% chance that Giannis is going to return to the Bucks. So where might he go? Maybe Orlando's in that mix. Maybe that's a place Giannis would be willing to go to, considering his relationship with Sweeney. So that is number one. The number two ripple effect, Sweeney was apparently the top choice for other jobs. As mentioned, a hot name on the market. And one of those openings he was a hot name for, the Dallas Mavericks. There was a report last week from Brett Siegel that said Sweeney, he's the priority for the Dallas Mavericks. But they are also expected to contact, this is Siegel's report, Duke head coach John Shire. Contact him as being part of the mix. Now that Sweeney is in Orlando, does that mean that John Shire is the top priority for the Dallas Mavericks right now? That would make sense, considering John Shire obviously coached Cooper Flagg, and Cooper Flagg's who you're trying to build around. But also, let's not forget, they have other guys that Shire's coached with the Blue Devils. Marvin Bagley, he coached him as an assistant. Derek Lively, Shire's first team at Duke. Derek Lively was a star on that team. Kyrie Irving is a Blue Devil. So maybe Dallas is Blue Devil South with all the players that are on the team. Also, Shire has done an incredible job doing the impossible, being the guy to follow, perhaps the most impactful college coach of all time in Mike Krzyzewski. So John Shire, could Sean Sweeney deciding to take the Magic job lead to maybe the best college coach to not have won a title, John Shire, to consider leaving to the NBA? That would be quite a ripple effect. don't expect him to leave Duke, but that's going to be a name you hear circled. Just watch. Chicago's his hometown. The Chicago job's opening. Cameron Boozer from Duke might be the number 4 pick to the Bulls. Maybe John Shire might consider his hometown as a team he could go to. They have Billy Donovan, who was there before and was successful. Billy Donovan, he had a college background too. There are ripple effects that come from this decision by Sean Sweeney, the Spurs assistant, to become the Magic's next head man. 310-840-4910. Who should be the favorites to win the NFC North? We'll take more of those calls. And speaking of Sean Sweeney, his Spurs meeting with the Thunder in Game 7 tonight, it is a rare, much-needed win for NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. And we'll tell you why next on The Josh Graham Show.
The quest for Lord Stanley's Cup is down to 2. Vegas Golden Knights, Carolina Hurricanes. Whose names will be forever etched on hockey's holy grail? The Stanley Cup Finals. Game 1, Tuesday night, Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
310-840-4910. Who should be the favorites to win the NFC North? Stunned that the Bears have the third best odds. We also were talking about Sean Sweeney taking the Orlando Magic job, the Spurs assistant. Will Dalton, proud of myself. Didn't make one Sidney Sweeney joke the entire bit. Proud.
It's very impressive. Very impressive.
He's got very big potential, Sean Sweeney has. Just like Sidney Sweeney does. Have you watched the most recent season of Euphoria?
No. I've seen clips and things, and I hear it's just chaotic. And she's a
little
star.
Yes. She, in the next episode, has the finale happened yet? Or are we still in the season?
I think it's coming up.
Right. I think the finale, I hate that I'm breaking this news on the show. The finale actually has Cassie sitting behind the Spurs bench and then appearing on TV. That's actually the finale of the show, which again brings us back to Sean Sweeney. That's why yours truly is on in 300 markets across the country. Tying that bow together. Boom. Boom. Nice, roasted. We've got Sarah Sivian going to join us at the top of next hour, about 20 minutes. Bleacher Reports, Too Many Men podcast, one of the best hockey podcasts out there. It's a lot of fun. She's one of the most entertaining follows on social media. We have a bit that we've been doing for years that you will really enjoy if you haven't caught it before. But getting to Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, this is the best case scenario for the NBA. It is the perfect medicine for the league that has had the worst, most chaotic season up until this point, or at least the regular season. Let's not forget that the season started with Chauncey Billups, a sitting head coach, being arrested in a illegal poker scheme that's linked to the mob, I think, and also Terry Rozier being arrested as well because he was involved in an illegal gambling ring type situation as well. That's how your season started. And then you talk about the tanking. Teams actively trying to lose. It felt like more than half the league was trying to do that, considering how good this coming draft class is and how bad the following two classes were. So much of the season was talked about nobody wants to play. Nobody wants to watch the games that clearly the players don't even care so much about. You got the Billups, you got the Rozier stuff. You have the Steve Ballmer situation too that isn't great and it distracts from the play on the court. So let's not talk about tanking procedures. Let's not talk about Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier's arrest. Rather, let's focus our attention on the two best teams in the sport with the two best players in the league facing off in a do-or-die Game 7 later tonight. That is what you want from the NBA. What makes the NBA different than, say, college basketball is that in best of 7 series, generally the cream rises to the top. There's less randomness. College basketball, it's single elimination, which could warrant some strange results, a la the UConn-Duke game in the Elite Eight in D.C. And because of that, you have these collision courses, matchups that you can look ahead to and say, cannot wait to watch that. And this is the game. This is the series that we were looking forward to. It's met the hype where we're now in a Game 7, and it's the perfect setup for the NBA Finals, too. For one, the NBA won't have a 6-day layoff before its next game is played. Pat McAfee can't nearly do that many primetime specials. Dude, let's talk about the NL Cy Young race, dog. It's going down. Also, the NBA obviously would want the Knicks to be competitive in the series. And wouldn't it just make sense, given the physical nature of this series, where these teams are just banging each other up? Pause. These guys, it is an absolute battle, an absolute war between these teams. That it going 7 could factor into the finals, especially maybe Game 1, where the Knicks are rested and going to be visiting either San Antonio or Oklahoma City, if they could steal one right off the rip. Even though the Spurs are underdogs tonight, the Spurs are our pick to win tonight's game. Or at least, don't want to speak for Will Dalton. It is my pick to win tonight. And I'm going to keep it simple in that. Just give me the team that has the best player. But SGA's won the MVP back-to-back. Anybody with eyeballs watching this series can tell who the most impactful player on the floor is. And it's Victor Wembanyama. Don't overthink this. I'm not doing it. I'm going with the healthier team. I'm going with the team that has the best player. I'm going with the team that has more wins in the head-to-head this year over the other. Will Dalton, what is your pick for tonight's Game 7?
I have had Spurs in 7 the whole way, and so I'm going to stick with that. I like Wemby. I think he's the factor, but I love watching Dylan Harper play. I think they struck gold there, picking him up. So I like that.
The NBA,
they're so young, so young.
Yeah, the NBA's also struck gold just with getting this game, even though there are those headlines still. Like, they're not completely in the rear view. Where Terry Rozier, there was the report just 2 days ago that he received the 100K, in the betting plot, and the tanking procedures were passed the day of Game 6 between the Spurs and Thunder. That was a couple days ago as well. 310-840-4910. Let's go to Mike, who's in Boise. Mike, where are you on the NBA's headlines, Game 7 tonight? What most interests you in the association?
Oh, I love the Spurs. I love when Wembanyama got thrown out for having an elbow. It made me happy because I could see finally there's a player that's willing to put his foot down on the back of his opponent's neck to win. So, and that's another thing is the number one pick is so important that they shouldn't have a team win that pick from a bingo ping pong ball lottery. You should have to earn the right to win that pick. And right at the end of the season, when the playoff picture lines up, the NBA should take a pool of teams that will be eligible for that number one pick. And the 2 teams with the best record from that day until the end of the season will play a one-game game before the playoff starts in order to win the right for that first pick. They should.
So you don't think the relegation structure is far enough? Like, what they are suggesting is that if you're a bottom 3 team, that you do not get the most odds at the number one pick, because that's essentially a relegation structure where, rather than the punishment being you can't play in the league anymore like you see in European soccer, it just means if you're bottom 3 in the league, you're encouraged till the very end to try to win to get outside that bottom 3 because you don't have the best odds at getting the first pick. You don't think that's far enough?
I don't think it's far enough. And the one thing we don't want to see is a room full of gentlemen in 3-piece suits watching ping pong balls. Let's have the best 2 teams, or the teams with the worst records, play for the right to win that by not tanking and actually trying to win the last month of the season or a few weeks in order to have a one-game playoff game right before the playoff starts to win that pick. so they can't tank. They
I
have
like
to try to
the
do better.
I like the idea. I do, Mike. I do have it decide on the court. Appreciate the call in Boise. Let's get Mike on fixing all the problems in sports. Maybe he can get on the MLB CBA next. This make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Search Westwood One Sports Night on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. All those things help us when it comes to the algorithm. A lot of great content from the night show as we're with you here from 4 to 7 p.m. today and tomorrow. Linnell Willingham, 8 to 11 a.m. generally. He's on vacation right now. Hope Linnell isn't listening right now. Hope he's like by a pool or doing something super fun. That'd be great. And then during the week, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern time throughout the week, getting to react to things in real time. Check us out on YouTube. It's how you can watch the show. In addition to listening to it, Westwood One Sports Night is also the podcast feed. Apple Podcasts and Spotify is where you can find that. As we're looking at some of the other things that are happening. Sarah Sivian, she's going to be joining us in about 10 minutes. She covers hockey for Bleacher Report's done that for years. Too Many Men podcasts. That's another one that just one of the biggest hockey podcasts that are out there. We have our Stanley Cup Finals matchup that's set where the Carolina Hurricanes.
But you know what we should be talking about, though? That you're not, quite
What's
frankly,
that?
right now? It's college baseball, man. College baseball.
Okay,
See, thank you so much for my music.
How-
There it is. Had to get the organ in here.
So you didn't think the hockey horn was obnoxious enough?
No, we need ballpark music. We need an organ. You're going to be hearing a lot of that in
Are we
MSG
talking-
in the NBA Finals.
Are we talking Orioles with Treya Savage, ECU Pirate, facing the Baltimore Orioles no score right now?
I'm not. I'm actually talking about some of these elimination games that are going on right now. Like, how about this? UCLA has been the best team in the country all year long by a long shot. And right now...
College baseball.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're in an elimination game right now with Virginia Tech. Still no score. Top of the third. So we got to keep you posted on that one. However, you and I, as we've mentioned, we're going to be at odds with one another here in about 10 minutes because your ECU Pirates are taking on my Tar Heels.
It's true.
At the Boschmer Stadium in Chapel Hill.
I went to East Carolina. The Pirates, it was funny. So I was told, my worlds are colliding a little bit. The great Mike Monaco, who's a friend, calls College World Series games for ESPN. He's got the Chapel Hill Regional, and he's working alongside great Big Ben McDonald, who I listen to every night call Orioles games. Having those two together was something I wasn't ready for. Having them call my alma mater, East Carolina, is next level, where I just feel very strange. It's like the first time I sat in Bill Belichick's press conference at North Carolina and hearing a lot of my local fellow media when I was doing local media in North Carolina ask Bill questions in Southern accents I wasn't ready for. Hey, Bill, you know, it was kind of surprising. You ended up here in Chapel Hill. Well, I just wasn't ready for that. And I'm not ready for what's going to happen. I don't know what we're going to do with our show going on as in the NCAA tournament, your Tar Heels face my East Carolina Pirates.
Yeah. Another great story, by the way, Elliott Avant. He's been the head coach at NC State for 30 years, and he announced that this is going to be it for him. This is his last ride. And they're in an elimination game right now at Auburn where they were down 10-2, and then they cut it to 10-7, then Auburn hit another 2-run homer to go up 12-7. But it's just the fourth inning, so they got plenty of time. So that's another interesting storyline that I'm keeping an eye on.
Worlds are colliding, Jerry.
George is getting upset.
Writes in here. Got way too many bets on the card today that we're going to be handing out later. But Sarah Sivian, this is true. One of the most entertaining follows on social media. Are we, and great talking pucks, are we looking at right now one of the greatest hockey teams of all time during this run? The lovely and talented Sarah Sivian, Bleacher Report, Too Many Men podcast, tells us the answer to that question and explains some of her tweets in the meantime. Next.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Sarah Sivian of Bleacher Report and the Too Many Men podcast joins us now on the Josh Graham Show, Westwood One Sports. Sarah and I go way back. In fact, we did a bit. There's a bit we used to do called Pucks and Tweets with Sarah because she knows hockey, knows puck better than anybody we know. And she's such an entertaining follow on Twitter/X at Sarah Sivian. Sarah, now that the Cup final is set and the show's gone national, are you ready to bring back the old bit?
I couldn't be more ready. I was so excited when you reached out. I'm like, it's like the good old days, but we're all grown up now.
It's amazing. Yes, very nostalgic. Let's start with pucks. The Carolina Hurricanes are the first team to enter the Cup final with a 12-1 record. The 88 Gretzky-led Edmonton Oilers owned the mark for the most efficient title win. They did so 16 wins, just 2 losses, so 18 altogether. Regardless of what fashion Carolina wins, it would be no worse than the second quickest playoff run, which prompts the question, should we be viewing the Canes as an all-time type of hockey team entering this Cup final?
It's funny because the way the world has changed and the way like social media debates, right, ever since that Gretzky team, it has me thinking like, it's such a higher bar now. People demand more and more. And also people are kind of more married to their takes of the past. And the takes of the past were that this team couldn't get it done. And it's like people don't want to admit that they're getting it done in a historic fashion with the way they are thrashing. We have even more analytics than ever now. And it's like the expected goals. It's the most ever in a 5-game span the Hurricanes had. And the way they just won playing exactly, they're going to be the complete dominance of this team after game 1. Like a lot of people I think are like, for whatever reason, hesitant to call it what it is.
On X at Sarah Sivian, watching the 99 Spurs-Knicks final, and I have a question. When did civilians stop wearing suits at sporting events?
I think it was 2005 because then I watched the 2005 Spurs final. My boyfriend's a Spurs fan from San Antonio, so we've been going through all of the emotions, going through all of the lore. Now I'm all caught up, and I'm wearing the 1993 vintage sweatshirt as we speak.
Will he be wearing a suit? I guess it's a follow-up question to like the bar or to games.
But our tuxedo cat over here is, so...
Flipping it to the Golden Knights. That's the Carolina Hurricanes opponent. The Canes winning last night. The Knights have had this matchup set for a while after sweeping the wagon that was the Colorado Avalanche. How do you make sense of the late ejection of Bruce Cassidy and what buttons John Tortorella has pressed in a short period of time?
Yeah, we saw Tortorella kind of do the same thing with the Blue Jackets in 2019 with the unexpected sweep of a legend Lightning team, or would-be legend, maybe like a behemoth, however you pronounce that. Sure. So I think that's probably what Kelly McCrimmon and the Vegas Golden Knights were thinking, that, okay, this guy is really good with veteran players in this slumping situation. And yes, it's extremely unorthodox to fire a coach when you're in a playoff spot, when there's only a few games left, but they had the second worst record of any team in the NHL after the Olympics, and they were going for having the worst in a few weeks span. They were kind of falling apart. So Tortorella coming, like, I get it. I don't like not letting Cassidy interview everybody else, but I think the ejection and replacement is exactly why the Vegas Golden Knights have been able to be so good in most years they've been a franchise.
We're playing Pucks and Tweets with our friend Sarah Sivian, Bleacher Report, Too Many Men podcast, Josh Graham Show, Westwood One Sports, on X at Sarah Sivian. Maybe my most unpopular and most heat moment take of all time, but we need to ban bar trivia. Like, bro, at least for the playoff months, like, I don't want to hear 20 seconds of a song and some guy screaming into a microphone for 3 hours to hear himself talk like.
Like, yeah, I'm saying like because I'm trying to not offend. And it's always the tweets that you think are going to offend somebody that don't. Everyone was kind of in agreement with me on that one. And I just think for the playoff months, like, I thought this was a society. Like, can we just please not have the bingo? Like, it's just, the grating noise. We don't have to have the sound on per se for the playoffs, but I don't want to talk about Lord of the Rings when I am trying to watch the NBA and NHL Stanley Cup Finals.
It's a cross to bear as well when you work in sports and then the sports category pops up. There is no greater pressure.
Yeah.
It's probably the greatest, the closest thing I feel to like players in a game 7, like being a person that works in sports at the trivia table when the sports category comes up. You better get them all right, Sarah.
And then it's always about the Premier League or something. And I'm like, I really can't help you guys.
The Carolina Hurricanes owner is Tom Dundon, who in the NBA world has become popular as the new owner of the Portland Trail Blazers. Popular is the wrong word. I'll use another word that starts with a P. Polarizing, shall we say. As somebody who is quite familiar with Dundon in hockey circles, what would be your message to Blazer fans regarding Tom Dundon?
My goodness. I think it's interesting because the NHL and the NBA, these are kind of different situations, but I get that Portland, it's kind of similar where in Raleigh, it's like the main sport is the team that Dundon owns, and he's kind of doing the same little thing there, I guess. But I don't know. Do your own takes. Let's see what happens in 5 years. I think your team is probably going to keep making the playoffs, and you can decide for yourself where you draw the line when it comes to layoffs, when it comes to cuts, and when it comes to cutting costs, right?
But this point can still be driven pretty strongly that the NBA is covered nationally different in a way, for better or worse, than the NHL is. These are many of the same headlines we just saw. We're seeing in Portland. We saw at the beginning of Tom Dundon's tenure with the Canes, and now we just talked about the team that he owns being one of the more consistent winners in the NHL.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Two things can be true at the same time, that you cannot like some of the business operations, but you also can't deny that he has had objective success, and he's probably kept the franchise from relocating by he got lucky in some ways by having Rod Brindamore just there waiting in the wings, right? And then by having Eric Tulsky around and like just have did he have Eric Tulsky around in that?
I mean, he inherited, I think, Don Waddell, who was there. But the thing about Rod, though, is he was an assistant coach for the prior head coach that was there. It would be the easiest thing for an owner to say, I just want my own guys, clean slate. So that, for also those who say, yes, you're lucky there, but how many owners are thinking, we need to completely do a clean sheet and not retain?
That's a good point. And you look at the past of the Hurricanes. I'm not sure about the past of the Trail Blazers ownership, but it was bleak. So I think he gets a little bit of grace with the Canes because of everything in the context considered, and he didn't relocate the team. So it's interesting with the nuances looking back, because he has made some really good decisions, but he's also burned people along the way, but it hasn't really mattered when it comes to success.
Sarah Sivian's with us here. Bleacher Report. Make sure to follow the Too Many Men podcast as well. On X, at Sarah Sivian. You should follow her there too. My boyfriend got a hole-in-one and shot 59 today. I'm never hearing the end of this.
What can I say? What else can I say? Epic performance. He had a double eagle, and or whatever. Is that what they call it? I think so. I'm learning the terms now. He's a great golfer, and
were you at the course, or did you get the phone call?
I was not at the course. I got the call. I got the sheet to confirm, and I got eyewitnesses to confirm. So it happened.
Wow. Did he do the video where he walked up and grabbed it out of the hole?
No, actually, humble king, I guess. It was just kind of, he did this thing in the photo.
Pucks and tweets with Sarah Sivian. Who will enjoy watching the Stanley Cup Finals less? Toronto fans knowing either Mitch Marner or Freddie Anderson are guaranteed to win, or short stint Carolina Hurricane Mikko Rantanen?
That's a great question. I think definitely Toronto fans. I think they are more of a tortured existence. I think Rantanen, at the end of the day, he's a rich athlete, and he's on a really good team that can keep building. I like their GM. I like decisions they've made. It stinks that the West has been an absolute gauntlet, but you know what? I don't know. You think about the Stars, and if they could have just beat the
The Wild?
The Wild. I had brain fart there. If they beat the Wild, they could have maybe swept the Avs. I mean, I think they're a better team than the Golden Knights, so that's interesting.
But it stings worse for Maple Leaf fans if it's Marner than it's Freddie, just because of the discourse.
Oh, because of that, and because they didn't even make the playoffs this year. Like, it's everything that's a nightmare fuel for them, unless Marner was somehow on the Bruins doing this. I can't think of anything worse.
Sarah Sivian is with us here on X at Sarah Sivian. People get so triggered by Cisco. Like, I don't like it, and I rarely ever go. But if people want to get drunk on some turf, who cares?
All right, yeah. So I live in Boston, and there's like this discourse constantly going around about like, oh, what's the yuppie area to live, and what's the everyone like makes so much fun of this bar called Cisco, which is from Nantucket, but they like made a satellite campus here in Boston, and like it is a little like there's a line around wrapping around to kind of get drunk in the middle of a parking lot with turf on it, but there is a live band. The drinks are pretty good, even though they're $20. And hey, if all my friends want to go there on a sunny day, who am I to say no? I'm never going to suggest it, but it's just, I am sure any listeners in Boston can kind of relate to the seaport discourse, but I'm neutral.
Have you or have you not ever gotten turf burn from like falling at Cisco?
No, the drinks are so expensive that only 2 or 3 there.
We've spent all this time talking about the storylines of Canes, Golden Knights, Game 1, Tuesday in Raleigh. Let's get into the matchup. How do you think these teams match up with each other?
What a great question. I think it's hard looking at exactly what the Hurricanes have done this entire time. It's hard. It's like, I think I ask, how does anybody else match up to the Canes? Can they survive the shot suppression? And I think this is going to be, as much as for multiple reasons, people are complaining about this cup final being a thing when it comes to small markets, or just they don't like the teams or whatever it is. I think the Vegas Golden Knights have been so good, and Mitch Marner mainly, at capitalizing on like little breaths that a team takes and kind of not being perfect and getting it done anyways. And I think in a way the Canadians were like the junior version of that. So I think it will be tough. I think it's interesting how they've kept heating up as the playoffs have gone on. I think obviously Mark Stone's return is really scary, but I think it's 2 completely different types of hockey where the Hurricanes are grinding you down and just absolutely like so well conditioned. And then Vegas is kind of can make something on a broken play. And Marner is just doing the Lord's work where kind of he's really good at transitioning from the defense to the offense. And he's leading. They have just scored so many points throughout this playoff run, and they are able to bounce back and not crumble like some of these teams against all of the teams against the Hurricanes have.
This one feels particularly relevant. On X at Sarah Sivian. Genuinely woke up and immediately smiled thinking about how I get to watch Wemby later. Like it was the first thought of the entire day.
Wemby. What can we say? The game 1, first of all, game 1 OKC Spurs is one of the best sporting events I've ever watched in my life. I just had so much fun. Wemby, looking at him, it's like someone tweeted seeing color TV for the first time, and he had a rough game. Like, I'll give us all that. Like, there was one, what was it, game 4 where he wasn't on, but when he's on, and I think Pop gave him a little talking to after that, and he went off again. I mean, he's expected to be, what is he, 21, 22? He's expected 22. To be the guy. And more often than not, he's absolutely the guy against the MVP, right? Against this team that gets so many points off the bench. He has to do it all, and he often does. And it's just crazy to watch some of the blocks, some of the dunks, and some of the threes.
We're hours away from Game 7. What's your anxiety level right now?
Well, in the Corgi we trust, right? The Corgi got every single thing right and said Spurs in 7, so it's got to be Spurs in 7.
Sarah Sivian, Bleacher Report, Too Many Men podcast. This is so much fun, and I'm so glad you did it, and I hope I get to see you soon.
Yeah, I mean, we'll hopefully be in Raleigh together soon so we can create some more content for the people.
This segment sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance. They protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. That's Sarah Sivian. Coming up, a rare unprofessional misstep from one of the most respected guys around. Keep it here on the Josh Graham Show.
It's the two best words in sports. Game 7. Thunder, Spurs, Wemby versus SGA. One more time, an entire season comes down to this. Tonight, winner advances to the NBA Finals. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
I'm a huge comedy fan. One of the great comedy institutions is Saturday Night Live. And for those who don't know, before the show goes live on Saturday night, for the crowd that is there, they have their rehearsal. And sometimes there are bits that don't work in front of the live audience that they cut last minute, that don't make it into the actual show that we all see. And one of my favorite stories that was once told, I think Bill Hader was telling this story. He said Josh Brolin, around the time No Country for Old Men was a big hit 20 years ago, he was telling this story. Love the goofy music. We need that. 20 years ago, he's hosting Saturday Night Live. Oh, this is the Saturday Night Live theme. I was waiting for the horns to come in. There you go. And there was a bit that they tried in rehearsals one year, WD, or during this show, that absolutely bombed. Like, nobody was laughing. I think it was called Fart Man. I think that was the entire bit where... Or maybe it was Fart Face, where essentially, in very serious tones, Josh Brolin and Bill Hader and others would just say to each other, "You're a fart face. You're a big old fart face." And nobody laughed. Okay, that's enough of the SNL music. Distracting me a little bit. But anyway, Lorne Michaels apparently thought it was funny, though. And Lorne Michaels runs the whole thing. So Lorne said, despite the fact that no one in the cast thought it was funny, and nobody in rehearsal in the crowd thought it was funny, they're still going to do the bit. So they have a huge show that night. Josh Brolin has a great musical guest. It's going great. And then they're getting ready to do the fart face sketch in front of the entire world to see. And Bill Hader's telling this story, and the way he described it was Brolin, right before the cameras went live for this bit, said to him, "Let's get ready to shut these people up." Everything's going great. The crowd's buzzing. Let's get ready to shut these people up. Knowing that the bit wasn't going to be funny. Now, this is a long preamble to say, this segment here might be the equivalent of the fart face sketch. I may or may not have said to Will Dalton right before the start of this segment, "Let's get ready to shut everybody up," or tick everybody off. That's probably what's more likely to happen here. Mike Breen, bang, is one of the more beloved broadcasters in sports. He is beloved as the longtime voice of the NBA Finals for ABC, getting set to call another Finals this year. He also has been the longtime TV play-by-play voice of the New York Knicks, calling a lot of bad basketball, but now the Knicks are going to the NBA Finals. I like Mike Breen. I'm a huge fan of Mike Breen's work, which is why it was disappointing to hear Mike Breen make such an unprofessional remark this week that is uncharacteristic of the terrific broadcaster he is. Now, here's the background of the clip. He's speaking with Monica McNutt, New York-based cable channel MSG, home of the Knicks. And this is after the Knicks swept the Cavaliers on Monday night this past week. Bream was asked what the Knicks win, celebration on the court, Eastern Conference Finals champs, what it meant to him personally as the longtime TV voice of Knicks basketball. And this is how Breen answered that question.
No, it brings such joy. I mean, I've been broadcasting Knicks games more than half my life. And again, to sit next to one of the all-time greats and have this lifetime friendship with him, I get emotional thinking about it. I mean, there's just such joy. I've been rooting for the Knicks since I was 7 years old. And to have a team like this is pretty darn.
Can I be honest? This is a nice sentiment to have. You called a lot of bad basketball. You grew up a Knicks fan, and now you get the chance to call the Knicks game. The Knicks games, you get to call the finals. You've been rooting for the Knicks since you were 7. That's a generally nice sentiment. Bang! So great. The problem is that you can't be rooting for a team. Or at least you can't say that you're rooting for a team you're about to call on a national broadcast. You might think, well, Josh, everybody knows that he calls Knick games. Everybody knows that he would like to see the team that pays him throughout the regular season is going to win. You know he has those feelings. It's okay to have those feelings. I'm not saying be a robot. I'm not saying be inhuman. It's okay to have those feelings. Just don't say it out loud. Will Dalton, I'm married, man. Every married person understands there are things you can think and things you can feel, but you can't say it out loud. Hypothetical. Let's say your wife has a really attractive friend. Just objectively attractive. If your wife asks you, hey, do you think my friend's attractive? What are you supposed to say? No! That's what you're supposed to say. You're not supposed to say, well, ever since I was 7, I was attracted to women, and that was a fine form of a woman, and I have to be honest in this spot when speaking to you. No! Just because you think it and you feel it doesn't mean you have to say it out loud. It's unprofessional. And the Knicks fans know this too, by the way. And here's how I know they know it, Will. Many Knicks fans are like you in that they are Yankee fans. And do you remember, I'm old enough to remember 2 years ago when Yankee fans were literally trying to put together a petition to prevent Joe Davis from calling the World Series because Joe Davis called Dodger games in the regular season. And there aren't any clips of Joe Davis saying publicly, everybody knows I'm rooting for the Dodgers. Because if that happened, every Yankee fan would have a conniption.
Listen, I love Mike Breen.
Me too.
I know you do. But I do feel like he's the exception. Because everybody knows because everybody knows what a professional he is, but he's been there for so long, they already know what this means to him.
Who isn't an exception that gets to that level? Joe Davis isn't an exception? He's amazing at it.
I wasn't saying anything about Joe Davis. I'm talking about Mike Breen.
Well, who wouldn't be an exception that's calling the finals or the Super Bowl? By your logic, everybody could just say, wave the pom-poms, this is the team I'm rooting for.
No, I'm talking about like how long he's called games for the Knicks. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't. Like, I think everybody knew what he was trying to say, and it's not that serious.
Here's the issue. I honestly believe this story here, him saying that, would be a much bigger issue if it wasn't San Antonio or Oklahoma City on the other side. Like, let's imagine a world, Will, where he says this and the Lakers are facing the Knicks. LeBron and the Lakers. Do you think every LA fan is just going to be cool with him saying, you know what, Mike Breen, you've been there a while. I'm going to be completely okay watching the finals when you've said publicly who you're rooting for in the series? I don't think Laker fans are going to be cool with it. But because OKC and San Antonio are, air quote, smaller markets, not a lot of their former players are on television to have issue with it. And also, it's unpopular to say anything negative about Mike Breen because, again, Mike Breen's great. Nobody says anything. But believe me, if it were bigger brands on the other side, I think you got problems. I really do. Like, this is an example of old standards actually being the correct standards. Just because something was a certain way a while ago doesn't mean you have to rebel against it. Like, Vin Scully would have never done this. Nor would Doc Emmerich. Nor would Joe Buck. Oh, but he wrote in his book he had a flat call in 2006. I read the book. I like Joe Buck. I'm not saying that he has to be emotionless when he's calling the game. I'm just saying, don't say out loud you're rooting for one team over the other. We don't want our announcers expressing a rooting interest for the games that they call. I'll be honest, I don't even know if I'd have an issue with this if he said it during a final celebration. If the Knicks had already won and he has no more games to call and he said exactly what he said, I don't think I have an issue with it. But he's getting ready to call the finals and he just told you he's rooting for the Knicks.
But I think everybody knows because of what a professional Mike Breen is.
But this is unprofessional.
As soon as that ball is, as soon as the cameras turn on, he is going to be objective calling these finals.
But hold on a second. Stop making the case for Mike Breen. We all know who Mike Breen is. Let's talk about just the singular comment. Can you at least agree the comment itself is unprofessional?
I think the context matters.
Why?
Well, because context always matters.
In this case, I don't think it does. It's either, if it's unprofessional for any announcer, it's unprofessional for Mike Breen too. It's just one or the other. It's either professional or it's not. And I think it's unprofessional. And honestly, it reminds me of another story. This is a mildly similar sentiment, believe it or not, to the Brendan Sorsby situation at Texas Tech, where Brendan Sorsby places hundreds of bets on his teams to win. Never betting against his team. They can track these things, hundreds of bets placed, and Texas Tech is trying to lobby. His lawyers are trying to lobby. They're trying to get an injunction to allow for him to play. They're trying to, even though he's bet on sports, when that's the number one thing you can't do. You can't bet on college sports when you play in college sports. You certainly can't bet on the sport in which you are a part. Can't do it. But they're trying to argue, well, we need to treat this just like any other mental illness. Not my words. This is what the lawyers are saying. We need to treat gambling addiction just like any other type of addiction. And he went and got taken care of. And you have the sentiment of people who are saying, yeah, the old way of thinking, that's archaic. Those are dinosaurs. No, in sports, everybody knows. In college and in pro, the number one thing you can't do is bet on sports. You know it. You can't bet on college sports. Everybody, even in a tertiary sense that is connected to college sports, knows this. He broke that rule time and time and time and time and time and time again. And thus, the sentiment that some say, well, the times are changed. No. What makes games, the integrity of games matter now is still the same thing that made integrity matter then. The standard needs to be applied evenly. I don't care about your context, both here and also the context of the Mike Breen thing. It's either unprofessional or it isn't. Like, again, would you have an issue if Mike Breen went on this show and said, you know what? I was feeling the Spurs kind of like me in January, and I bet them 14-1 to win the NBA Finals. So, financially speaking, I'm rooting for the Spurs to win. Would you have an issue with that? Would that be unprofessional?
Well, yeah, but that's because that's about betting. That's
well, no, I mean,
different.
But you can bet on pros. You can announce who you're betting on in pro sports. I think some would say, well, it's completely human to bet on sports and be happy if your team wins. I'm sorry, whether it's betting or you grew up watching the team when you were 7. I don't want to know who my play-by-play announcer is rooting for on national broadcast when you're supposed to be right down the middle. You can't say you're the most professional guy ever and then say something unprofessional, and us are supposed to say, well, because you're super professional, we're going to let an unprofessional thing slip.
Well, I don't think he is saying he's not proclaiming himself that. The masses
are
proclaiming him that. Well, yeah, yes. And I think the majority of sports fans out there that watch the NBA and have for years feel that way. I do. I think they feel that way. And the Knicks have also been through stuff, man. The Knicks have been through it. He's probably thrilled to see the Knicks get here. This has nothing to do with who's on the other side. It's about the Knicks.
Let's get ready to shut these people up. There you go. The time has come to make a prediction for Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. Well, actually, that time is specifically next on the Josh Graham Show.
Is your team in the Women's College World Series? Catch every game on the Westwood One Sports app. Your home for NCAA championship action. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Josh Graham Show, Westwood One Sports, across 300 markets in this great country, also in parts of Canada too. The vibes, they are just immaculate on this beautiful Saturday. Yours truly, a diehard, lifelong Carolina Hurricanes fan. So you know we'll have to get to them shortly. Actually, just got a text. Actually, just got a text from the great Sean McDonough, who's going to be calling the Stanley Cup Finals for ESPN and ABC. He will be with us at about this time on tomorrow's Josh Graham Show. But that's not the only reason that morale is high. Morale's high because of the two greatest words in sports tonight. It's Game 7, so let's get into it. Especially in the analytics age that we live in, we tend to overanalyze things. Look at how this player shoots in this specific spot on the court, or look at the splits between this gym and the other. It's kind of similar when you're in high school and you overthink a text from your high school crush. Dude, she texted hey with 3 Ys and an emoji, 2 exclamation points. It's getting pretty serious, it sounds like. Sometimes sports, they're quite simple. And Game 7 of Spurs-Thunder, it's one of those instances. The Spurs are going to win Game 7, and it's largely because San Antonio has Victor Wembanyama, and Oklahoma City does not. When he has a strong game in this series, when he plays well, San Antonio wins the basketball game. Sometimes sports can be that simple. When he plays well, they win. When he doesn't play well, they lose. What does playing well look like? Well, let's just make it tangible, objective. When he exceeds his scoring average for the season, 25 points. When he grabs at least 5 rebounds, that's not a lot to ask for a guy who averages 11 boards per game on the season. So not even half of that number. When he exceeds his average of 25 points and grabs at least 5 boards, the Spurs are 3-0 in this series. When he's held either under 25 points or under 5 boards, because there was that one game where he scored 26, didn't have an efficient night that night, but had 26, but was held to 4 rebounds, the fewest he's had in a game where he wasn't hurt or ejected in this entire season. When that doesn't happen, they lose. They're 0-3. And here's the part that's scary. Wemby didn't just score 28 points in the last game. Number one, he did it in 28 minutes. And number two, he did it by hitting largely jump shots. It wasn't, there was very little interior presence from Wemby. So if he can get just even a little inside, and if he's hitting jumpers again, it's a helpless place to be if you're Oklahoma City. The Spurs are also healthier than the Thunder are right now. That's another piece of this. Who has the best player on the court? Victor over SGA. Who's healthier between the two? San Antonio is. Jalen Williams officially ruled out of Game 7 tonight. Re-aggravated the hamstring earlier in the series. They've had other injuries as well. Meanwhile, Dylan Harper, while he's played since the Game 2 injury he sustained. He hasn't really looked the part until Game 6. Game 6, he was back to his normal form, 18 points, efficient shooting, and that's a scary thought for OKC. If you don't have Jalen Williams and San Antonio has Victor Wembanyama and has Dylan Harper healthy. And also, do you think there's really any part of this San Antonio Spurs team that is fearful of Oklahoma City? Fearful of this stage? San Antonio's, number one, already won in that building this series, Game 1. That was the double overtime classic. And let's not forget, these teams have met like 10, 11 times this year. San Antonio's won more head-to-head this year than Oklahoma City has. So sometimes we tend to overthink things. Oh, Vegas thinks this, and oh, they have the MVP and they won the title last year. Who is the best player on the court? That's San Antonio. Who's healthier right now? That's San Antonio. And who has won more times in the head-to-head? San Antonio. The Spurs are the pick to win Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals later tonight and face the New York Knicks. 310-840-4910 if you want in. Let's go to Dave, who's in Tampa, who wants in on tonight's game. I like the Spurs. Who do you like, Dave?
Well, Josh, your observations, man, how about playing well? What a novel concept, man. In a perfect world, I've never looked – hey, Josh, in 50 years of watching the NBA, I have never looked forward to a Game 7 like this. Now, hear me out real quick. You had Chuck Daly, Pat Riley, Phil Jackson with all these unique players they had to manage. This young Spurs coach, he's got Wemby and develops these players around it, man, and gets more better players, man. They're going to be scary.
I think so too. So do you think they win tonight?
Gosh, man, I hate trying to bet and predict things. I'm terrible at it. But I think if they I texted my brother the last game. I said they need to pour the defense on them. So if they pour the defense on them, man, I'll go to the old, defense wins your championship, Sparrow.
All right. I like it. We'll see what happens later tonight. Thanks for the call in Tampa. Hey, man, by the way, how long have you been in Tampa, Dave? I think we lost him. We lost Dave. The only reason I ask is next weekend at this time, I won't be with you because there's a chance at about this time, Will Dalton, I'm going to be at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa because following a wedding that I'm going to be at, the English national team is having a friendly at the Bucs Stadium next weekend. So I might pop into the old Ray J, the old pirate ship, hang out there. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, search Westwood One Sports Night on Apple Podcast and on YouTube. Easy to find that stuff. Westwood One Sports Night as well is the YouTube channel that you can watch the show in addition to listening to it. What a novel concept that is. You can see us in addition to listening to us, and we get immediate reactions to things, such as last night with the Canes, or whether it's these finals games we get a chance to react to. Make sure you subscribe to that. Like, comment, subscribe. All that stuff helps with the algorithm, and we appreciate that a great deal. We have the bets that we have to hand out. See, Dave was just talking about handing out the bets with the Spurs facing Oklahoma City. Graham's Gambling is coming up about a half hour from now. We'll hand out those bets in just a little bit.
Do you know what's more interesting than that, though? Do you know what is? The fact there are 3 elimination games right now in the regionals, college baseball, that have gone to extra innings. Did you know this? It's really fascinating. Virginia.
Oh, really? You want to talk about the extra innings games, but you don't want to talk about East Carolina up 2-0 on your North Carolina Tar Heels right now?
It's early in the game, man. They just got time for that. These are extra inning games.
I noticed there haven't been any interruptions throughout this entire hour with East Carolina in a winner's bracket game, leading your Tar Heels 2-0 with a runner in scoring position right now in the second as well. I notice a little bit that you're a little quieter over there.
But who can care about that when you've got Oklahoma State and Alabama State in the top of the 11th, tied at 7 apiece? I mean, come on now. Virginia and Southern Miss, they're in the top of the 10th, tied at 11. A lot of runs being scored in these games. And then Illinois, Chicago in the bottom of the 10th. I think they're up 8-7 now on the Citadel. These are all elimination games that have gone extra. The people need to know this stuff. We can get to ECU Carolina later.
Did you talk about Virginia Southern Miss?
I did. Tied at 11, top 10.
That's crazy. That is a crazy game that's going on right now. I'm just super conflicted because all my worlds are colliding, as I mentioned, where my buddy Mike Monaco is calling this game, North Carolina ECU. My alma mater's playing. Ben McDonald, who calls Orioles games. I'm a super big Orioles fan. He is calling the game with Monaco, so those worlds are colliding. And then I turn on the actual Baltimore Orioles. And who's pitching for Toronto? Trey Savage, East Carolina Pirate. And I had to turn that game off because I was so upset with the Orioles. Like, start of this week was great. They sweep the Tampa Bay Rays, but then they're up 5-0, Will, through 6 innings against Toronto, lose 6-5. And then today, Trey Savage walks 7. 2 bases loaded, 1-out situations, and you grounded the double plays, back-to-back innings, no runs in those spots.
Brutal.
So the Orioles trail 2-1. Anything, getting to the Major League Baseball scoreboard, since we're there, since you decided to rip this show into the baseball direction. This Minnesota-Pittsburgh series has been crazy. Pittsburgh walked it off coming from behind against the Twins. That's bottom 5. It's already 8-7. That's a really fun series that's going on right now. Elsewhere, probably the most noteworthy series that we have, Atlanta at Cincy, Great American Ballpark. That's a lot of fun. Chicago, the Cubs, and anytime the Cubs face the Cardinals, that's noteworthy. That's going to be the National Fox game tonight. That's going to be in St. Louis. NL Central games are all going to be battles. Philly at the LA Dodgers. Interesting. And of note, too, Don Mattingly taking over in Philly, going to Dodger Stadium. No, Will, we're not talking about the Yankees and the Athletics, even though I do like the Athletics.
10:05 first pitch.
You're not staying up for it. Don't even try to pretend.
I might just.
I don't believe you. No, you won't.
I might get in on that.
Don't think you're going to. Hey, North Carolina got out of a jam. Congrats. It'd be so great. I've been invited so many times to the College World Series in Omaha, and I've always said, I'll only go when East Carolina goes, because no school, and it's not even close, there's not even a close second, has been to more regionals without going to Omaha than my alma mater, East Carolina. So whenever it happens, I'll be going, but not before then. Also, Westwood won the home of the Women's College World Series and the Men's College World Series. So giving that a shout out as well. Coming up, who says that June isn't an awesome sports month? Keep it here on The Josh Graham Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Don't know why this makes me giggle sometimes, but I see pages talk about sports like politics, use political terminology in sports conversations, and every time it just makes me giggle. For example, let's try to do that when talking about the month of June don't look now, but the calendar flips on Monday to the month of June. The big football lobby, Will, wants you to believe that June actually isn't a great sports month. If you ever watch the movie Jaws and you see the mayor trying to encourage people despite the danger of sharks that, you got to go out to the beach, the big beach lobby. They're all out there, Will, trying to convince you that you should not be watching sports and that sports does not matter in the month of June. They're wrong. They're wrong. It's propaganda that's put out there by the big football lobby because there's no football. They want you to believe that June actually isn't a great sports month. We'll let you deduce what political figure I'm talking about there. Now let's talk about Jackson Dart. June is actually going to be a spectacular sports month. Anybody that knocks June as not being great, they just don't know what they're talking about, especially this year. Obviously, you have the finals that's going to take center stage, the NBA. Winner of Spurs-Thunder facing the Knicks. Are you kidding? The New York Knicks in the finals facing generational talents on the other side. That's going to be great. The NBA also has the draft in late June. We're all about that. The NHL, go Carolina Hurricanes, the Canes. They're going to be meeting the Vegas Golden Knights Tuesday, puck drop in Raleigh. Hoping to be in the building for that. That'd be a lot of fun. We're trying to figure out some of the details. Dot some I's, cross some T's, make that work out. But why especially this year? Every year you have the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals. Will Dalton, we're a couple weeks away from the World Cup kicking off here in North America. First time the World Cup's been in North America since 1994. And the United States, they're actually going to be on Westwood One Sports tomorrow in Charlotte. USA facing Senegal. And speaking of Charlotte FC center back Tim Ream has been named the captain for Team USA. So he'll be playing in the stadium he calls home in Charlotte tomorrow for a exhibition that you can listen to right here on Westwood One Sports around 3:30 in the afternoon. And Team USA is going to be a host of the World Cup. That's all really exciting. But don't forget that you have the College World Series as well and Major League Baseball. Why are people dumping on June? Don't understand it. College World Series, Stanley Cup Finals, NBA Finals, World Cup, NBA Draft. What? The Taylor Swift Travis Kelce wedding? What more could you want? It's all there, Will. It's all right there.
Are you going to be dialed in to the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift wedding? That
is my responsibility. It's my responsibility as a sports host to. This is the closest thing we've had in America to a royal wedding, where I don't know if the royals have actual power overseas, so a lot of it might be ceremonial. That's kind of what it is. What is the equivalent to the royals in America? Celebrities. What's one of our greatest exports? Pop culture, pop music. Who's our greatest pop musician? Taylor Swift. Closest thing to a musical monolith that we have. When she puts out music, we all agree, yep, this is a big deal, regardless if you like it or not. And then, what is the most popular sport in America by far? Football. Travis Kelce, a Hall of Fame tight end for a generational, dynastic Kansas City Chiefs team. They're getting married, those two entities coming together. Yes, we're going to talk about it. And I have so many questions, so many. How many Kansas City Chiefs on the roster make the cut? How many on the 53-man squad is going to be there?
I mean, see, that's tough. That could divide the locker room, really.
Noah Gray, is he there? Is Noah Gray?
I don't know. I don't know.
I
if he
say
is or
yes.
not.
If you're in the tight ends room, I would assume that you're there. That's a position group, I would assume. But is Chris Jones there? Is Nick Bolton there? Is George Karlaftis? I'd like to know, sincerely. All the coaches? How many coordinators? Are we inviting Bieniemy and Matt Haley? And we're inviting, obviously, Andy. Andy's going to be there. You're going to have Andy. But then is Spags invited? Butker?
Harrison Butker invited, or maybe?
Let's talk about Jackson Dart, Abdul Carter, and Harrison Butker. Why don't we? Let's do that. Yeah, so I'm excited. I mean, what's on the menu? What colors are being worn? Music? You got to go band, but think about the pressure, Will, of being the band that is performing at Taylor Swift's wedding. So a lot of pressure. Just a lot of questions that need to be answered. Here's a question that we have. This might be our last call for phone calls, final hour of the show here on the Josh Graham Show. Who should be the favorites to win the NFC North as we transition conversation to the NFL? Who should be the favorites to win the NFC North? Because if you've been following the headlines this week, the NFC North is set up for the Chicago Bears to win the division, even though the odds don't quite say that. Everybody else in the division, other than Chicago, seems to be heading in the wrong direction. Or to use a very millennial Gen X term, the vibes aren't good right now with everybody else. The Minnesota Vikings seem rudderless. They fired their GM in January. They said they were going to hire one right after the draft. It's been a month after the draft. They still haven't hired the replacement. And now they have a quarterback controversy. You drafted J.J. McCarthy just 2 years ago, 12th overall. You had a plan. You bail on Sam Darnold. That doesn't age well when Sam Darnold then wins 14 games after winning 14 games with you, with Seattle wins the Super Bowl. So you panic, lose the GM, and you bring in Kyler Murray to compete with J.J. McCarthy, even though J.J. McCarthy played well in the month of December, even though J.J. McCarthy is still 23, 24 years old, and maybe the lesson from the Sam Darnold story is not to write off people so soon. And now you got awkwardness in that quarterback room. But don't just take it from me. At OTAs this week, here was J.J. McCarthy on the addition of Kyler Murray to that QB room.
What's your relationship been like with Kyler so far?
It's just like two guys in a classroom. He sits on one side, I sit on the other side, and it's the coach's responsibility to teach us and coach us. So,
Is there any awkwardness between you two?
Awkwardness, it's just like the same feeling, when you're in high school and there's another person on the other side of the room. That's just kind of how it is. So I wouldn't say there's any awkwardness.
You hear that, Will? It's no awkwardness. It's just a couple guys sitting in a room, just like high school. And nothing's awkward when two guys sit in a room in high school. It's just what it's like. Why would you think this is awkward? There's nothing awkward about that. They teach us. He's sitting on the other side of the room. And if I just tell you it's like two guys sitting in a room, then you're going to think that it's not awkward. And this is the right way to answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, the more we talk about it, the less awkward it's getting.
So the Vikings are not in the greatest position. The Packers remain stuck in neutral. 3 straight years of finishing 7th in the NFC standings, meaning you're the last team into the playoffs. And you have about as horrific as a loss as you can have in the playoffs. You face a rival, just coaching malpractice to blow the lead in the second half, losing to the Bears. And how do you deal with Matt LaFleur? No, you don't fire him. You extend him. And to make matters even worse, now Josh Jacobs is in legal trouble. Not the guy taking your calls at 310-840-4910, by the way. We do have that running bit on the show where we say, Josh Jacobs. Yes, that Josh Jacobs. This is the only week I'm going to say, not that Josh Jacobs. Taking your calls. That would be great if we did say it, and then somebody calls you at 310-840-4910 and says, bleep you! You're awful! Whoa! You should not be working on this job. Get out of here! You get on and get!
That actually happened during Harvey Weinstein. Playwright Harvey Fierstein was attacked by people. How dare you do that to women? Yada, yada, yada. And Harvey Fierstein is gay. So it's like, but the name sounded so similar that people thought he was Harvey Weinstein. I know, it's crazy.
Jackson Dart, Harrison Butker, Harvey Weinstein. They're turning the frogs gay. I don't know. Just trying to think what qualifies as being political sports talk overlap. We're trying to figure out the mark. I don't know. The Lions. So they just seem like a team that's missed their window. There are windows in the NFL, and they don't last as long as you think. And the Lions are a team not known for really having a lot of postseason success. So this just feels like a team that had the chance to go to the Super Bowl in 2023, blew it in that title game against San Francisco. They went for it. It didn't work out on that fourth down, and they blew that lead. And then in 2024, you go 15-2, and you lose your first home playoff game against Washington. That felt like their shot. It's not going to get any better. They're not trending up. Meanwhile, the Chicago Bears undoubtedly are, which is why it is stunning, Graham's gambling in about 10 minutes, why the Bears have the third best odds to win this division. Now, we understand, the Bears' defense isn't all that great, but they weren't all that great last year. You honestly think it's going to be worse? The real question you got to ask is, do you think the Bears' defense is going to be worse or better? Even if it's marginally better, the offense is certainly going to be better with Chicago. Like, you're talking about Ben Johnson going into year 2. You're talking about Caleb Williams going into year 3 and year 2 of this offense. And then Rome Odunze, third year in the league. Colston Loveland, Luther Burden going into year 2. It is nuts when you consider that the Lions and the Packers have better odds to win the division than the Chicago Bears do right now. It doesn't make a lot of sense. The core of this team's so young and they are ascending, and that's why they're going to continue to ascend this year, and they're going to win the NFC North. Nationally speaking, the Bears are one of the greatest draws this year. The league knows this. This is why they have them in not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, 7 standalone games on the schedule. Second most in the league. 5 primetime games, plus the Thanksgiving game at the Lions and the Christmas Day date at home against the Packers. And it makes sense because the NFL is more interesting when Chicago's good. And that franchise has never really had a quarterback like they have right now in Caleb Williams. So get ready. The season begins with the Disrespect Bowl. The Bears facing WD's Carolina Panthers to open up the season in Charlotte, North Carolina. Meanwhile, 3-0 East Carolina over the North Carolina Tar Heels will in the NCAA baseball tournament winners bracket. Your Tar Heels, my alma mater, East Carolina, duking it out right now. Just figure to pass that note along in case you were thinking about interrupting or not interrupting for the rest of the show. 310-840-4910 if you want in. Let's go to Paul in Alabama. Might be the Paul. Who knows? I think actually Paul lives in Charlotte. That Paul. This Paul is in Mobile, Alabama. Paul, where are you at on how the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift wedding should be covered?
Hey, it is Carl, not Paul, but I just wanted to say.
Oh, hey, Carl.
Yes, Carl, yes. But you named so many great things that are going on this summer, the Knicks in the finals, the World Cup, and all. I was thinking, man, it's like the Bryan Adams song, The Summer of '69. Maybe Taylor Swift should do a take on that. Some people think it's weird to sing at your own wedding.
Not a bad idea. Try to figure out whether or not we can get a good cover of that song. I'd listen to that. I wonder if this is the summer to get your first real 6-string. Who knows?
That's
Bought
right.
it at the 5 and down.
And Taylor and Kelce got married, you know.
That's great. Thank you so much for the call, Paul. That's great. Summer of 69. Now we could just call it the summer of 2026. By the way, do you know when Taylor Swift was born? 89, not 69. 89. I don't think it was the summer of 89. Go back to this, got to get all the Taylor Swift dates right. I think 13 means a lot to her. And I see conflicting reports too. I see here, Will, that the wedding is June 13th. I see that the wedding's June 13th, but then I see other places that it's July 3rd.
Yeah, this is just...
I feel like this is something that we need to know. How do we not know what the official date is?
I'm pretty sure the June one is correct. At least that's what I
think
thought.
it is too, but someone just sent me, when you are on in 300 markets, you get responses to things in the moment. Someone's sending me that there's possibility that it's a July 3rd date, but I see June 13th most places. I also see someone saying San Antonio's not going to win tonight because only one team has won a Game 7 on the road this century in the Western Conference Finals, and that's the 2002 Lakers. By the way, not true. Golden State in 2018 won at the Houston Rockets in Game 7. That was in the Western Conference Finals. It's one of those things that AI can have these, what's the word? They can have these hallucinations
it's
and get stuff wrong. Yeah, these glitches.
A glitch.
I'm not AI. I'm not one of those Spotify AI personalized podcasts. It's not what we're doing right now. This is live. To put a bow on the talking about sports like it's politics, we'll do it live. Cut it and we'll do it live. We have 2 bets for basketball, 2 for hockey, 1 for football to hand out in Graham's Gambling, and maybe even more than that. And we'll share our card with you next on The Josh Graham Show.
The quest for Lord Stanley's Cup is down to 2. Vegas Golden Knights, Carolina Hurricanes, whose names will be forever etched on hockey's holy grail, the Stanley Cup Finals. Game 1, Tuesday night, Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
Last call for phone calls. Who should be favored to win the NFC North? 310-840-4910 if you want in on that subject. So much going on this Saturday afternoon, including Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. That caller question and that topic top of mind right now as we hand out bets. We've got a busy card in today's Graham's Gambling.
Sitting back, count money all day, you know. It's time for Graham's Gambling. Let's make some money.
Obviously, we're betting the Bears to win the NFC North. Plus 320 is just insane. The fact that the Lions and the Packers have better odds than Chicago, who won the division last year, it's flat out disrespectful, considering that happened in the first year of Ben Johnson being there, them winning the division, Chicago, and winning two more games than the next closest team, and Caleb Williams starting to come into his own on a young team that is ascendant. So, plus 320, just don't understand it. Somebody explained to me like I'm 5 why Chicago doesn't win this division. Bears, plus 320. To the Western Conference Finals we go. Will Dalton, since we like the Spurs to win tonight, of course we would encourage betting San Antonio plus 3.5 against OKC. Mm-hmm. But Will, why do that when you could just take the Spurs money line plus 130? Because in this series, Will, the spread hasn't really mattered all that much. Game 1's the one game that was decided very closely in double overtime. The next closest game was a 9-point margin. You've had some blowouts. The Spurs won by 27 in the last game. Hey, even if you like Oklahoma City, this is just some betting advice. If you disagree with our assessment and you like the Thunder tonight, don't take the money line, lay the 3.5, because again, that hasn't proven to matter largely in this series. So, yes, we encourage San Antonio plus 3.5 points, thinking that will hit, but we're also wanting the better line of plus 130, the better price, Spurs money line. But that's not my favorite bet from this game. There is something, Will, just like yours truly was stunned to see that Chicago had the third best odds to win the NFC North. That's not nearly as surprising because, again, we could spell out the arguments for why Chicago might take a step back. Their defense isn't all that great. They have a more difficult schedule. They got some bounces, some luck when it comes to the turnover margin, fine. All of that makes sense. This one, frankly, just feels like a miss. It almost has me suspicious in Las Vegas how the number is set this way. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Why is Dylan Harper's number over-under for points 9.5? I don't get it. I just don't understand. Dylan went for... He's healthy now. I get it if you still think he's hurt, but the player,
what do they know?
He went for 18 in the last game. Obviously, they're going to need him. He's taken over playoff games. During the season, Dylan Harper averages about 12 per game. But what am I missing here with Dylan Harper's over-under being at 9.5? So we're going to take the over 9.5 for Dylan Harper in this game.
We should get a baseball update right now. We really should.
All right, just cut the music. Cut the music, bro.
I'm with you on the picks, though, by the way. I'm with you on the picks.
Is there another type of music you want to play in this moment? Yeah.
There is. So it appears Carolina has hit a 3-run homer.
You're not watching?
I am watching. I'm just commentating here. I'm narrating.
Then why are you saying
I'm literally
it appears?
Well, because
he hit it off the batter's eye at center.
It appears that he's at a 3-run homer.
I'm saying, what kind of announcing is this? It appears. Well, no, he just hit one off the batter's eye. 3-run homer. ECU just can't hold on to a lead.
It just makes me so
life.
happy. Because I watched your face as you were watching it, and I knew exactly what you were watching, because I was watching it.
See, this is the beauty
3-3
of us being on video. You can watch the show in addition to listening to it. Westwood One Sports Night is the YouTube channel, the podcast, all that. And you can just see the life leave my face as North Carolina hits a 3-run homer to tie up the game against my alma mater, East Carolina. Can we get back to the betting? Because I need to get to my happy place. See, the Western Conference Finals happened tonight, and we're on Dylan Harper. We're on the Spurs money line. Just mentioned that we're taking the Chicago Bears. There are odds for the Stanley Cup that are out, Will Dalton. And I like the Canes to win in fewer than 5.5 games at plus 155. That number on DraftKings, so to win in 4 or win in 5. I like the value of plus 155. I think it's a good price. And Carolina's been a wagon this year, and Vegas has been very fortunate. Yeah, they beat Colorado in a sweep. Weird things happen in the playoffs, except to these Canes, who are an exception to the rule. I think this is a tremendous hockey team in ways we could talk about in just a little bit. Also, this is, again, I don't like questioning the folks that set the odds because they have these really tall buildings out west for a reason. But somebody explain to me why Logan Stankoven's odds to win the Conn Smythe Trophy for the playoff MVP, not the Stanley Cup Finals MVP, this is for the entire playoffs, why Logan Stankoven's odds to win that award are at plus 900, are at 9-1. Do not understand it. Don't get it. 3 players are ahead of him. Stankoven has 9 goals in 12 games. 12 points. In 13 games. 12 points in 13 games. He's been incredible. And the best odds are going to Mitch Marner and Frederick Anderson. Freddie probably wouldn't win it because Freddie doesn't face a lot of shots on goal because of how good Carolina's defense is. So I think it's going to be one of these forwards for Carolina if they win, Taylor Hall or Stankoven. And I think Stankoven should have the upper leg. So do the Stankoven leg. Plus 900 Logan Stankoven to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. Canes to win in fewer than 5.5 games at plus 155. Those are the bets. The Dylan Harper one and the Stankoven one just makes my head want to explode. I don't get it.
I don't think I disagree with any of those picks. I think I'm going to cash in too. I think I might just.
This segment sponsored by our friends at Progressive Commercial Insurance. They protect small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com. It's now the time where I'm sad and I'm going to turn the ECU North Carolina game off of my television on the big screen in the studio here.
It's tied up.
I don't like the vibe. It's the fourth inning, and we don't have a lot of pitching.
Already given up.
14. You're one of the top 5 teams in the country. I'm going to turn the channel to the Orioles, who are not a sadness factory. They actually are.
I was about to say.
Orioles.
What Orioles are you watching?
Also, I think that game's just later. So it's all about toggling. Oh, wait, now it's 4-1 in the ninth? Yeah, I think I might just stick with the tie game. It's all sadness, except for the Carolina Hurricanes, because grew up a lifelong, diehard Carolina Hurricanes fan. And we could talk about the Canes ad nauseum on this show, and we have, to the point where Josh Jacobs gets annoyed by it, to the point where he has like a built-in function that he can interrupt when I'm talking about it too much. You know what, Jacobs? I'm going to say that actually is that Josh Jacobs who's taking calls now. 310-840-4910. Let that Josh Jacobs know how you feel. 310-840-4910. He's in the NFC North. That also might just be Josh's way of telling me to go to the phones. Let's go to Bob, who's in Michigan. Bob, NFC North favorite. Who should it be? Because right now it's the Lions.
Well, I'm a big Lions fan, and I'm telling you the Bears are going to take it. And they might be one of the most interesting teams in a long, long time. You know, they already had Cole Kmet. Then they drafted a tight end first round last year, Loveland. Then this year, didn't they draft a tight end in the first round? If they had
they drafted a safety. They drafted a safety in round 1.
Oh, but they did get a tight end somewhere this year, didn't they, in the draft?
Yeah, probably. They generally take them. Cole Kmet. They took. Obviously, you mentioned Colston Loveland. They like their tight ends in Ben Johnson's offenses. I'm sure you know down there or up there.
Yep, and playing outdoors, you know, you have all those little dinking and dunking and extra blocking for the run or after the reception. And they picked up Khalif Raymond. Pound for pound, I believed was the Lions' best player. He's so versatile. And I already checked it out. The Lions are, last 2 weeks of the season, they're at Chicago and at Green Bay. That's the way I'd want it.
Can you help me out on this, Bob?
Yep.
Why the Lions are favored? Generally, fans of teams are high on their squads going into years. Higher than the media, who might be objectively looking at it, as we try to do here, might be viewing it. How come every Lions fan I talk to from Detroit is not high on Detroit? Like, what is it that has you guys so down on them?
In my opinion, they've got an offensive line that has not grown together, has not congealed yet, and they're going to be an unknown certainty, and it's hard to get together on the offensive line, but they'll have their moments. They got good receivers. We'll see.
Okay. Bob, appreciate the call. Good to hear from you from Michigan.
All right, see you.
Getting to the Carolina Hurricanes, there are 3 reasons. I can already feel you in your house or in your car listening to me talk about a small market hockey team, even though they're in the Stanley Cup final, and saying, Josh, don't do it. Josh, I don't care. Josh, my hand's on the dial. Josh, I got Spotify ready to go. My AI personalized podcaster, Rogan, that I can just throw on right now. Don't you do it. Don't you do that, hockey. Don't you do it. Give me the benefit of the doubt for just a minute or two in telling you why you should care. Masterfully done. Here are the reasons why you should care about what the Carolina Hurricanes are doing. Number 1, they are on pace to have the greatest postseason run in modern American history. Like, talking about the formats that we've come to know in the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs, they've been around since the 80s. This playoff format in hockey is 40 years old. The Hurricanes are the first team to ever sweep their first 2 best-of-7 series. They're the first team to enter the Cup final with either 0 or 1 loss on the ledger. The 1987-1988 Edmonton Oilers won the Stanley Cup in just 18 games. They went 16-2. That is the record for the fewest amount of games required to win the Cup. That team had Wayne Gretzky on it. In his prime, that team had 7 Hall of Famers on it. It's arguably the greatest team ever assembled. If the Canes sweep the Knights, they will set a new record. Stanley Cup wins, 16 wins, just 1 loss. If they win in 5, they will match Edmonton. If they win in 6, it will be just the second team, Carolina, to win the finals in fewer than 20 games. Win a title in fewer than 20 games. So that's one reason you should care. It's historic. Secondly, it should silence some of the criticism, some of the noise surrounding Tom Dundon in Portland. See, the same way he's being called cheap right now as the new owner of the Blazers, he also was in Raleigh. I know because I did local talk and I grew up a Carolina Hurricanes fan in North Carolina. So very familiar. When he took over the team, there were the rumors, he's going to move the team. He's going to relocate. Oh, he's cheap. He's letting go of the local announcing crew, and he doesn't want to pay, and he's cutting corners. All those things that they're saying about him in Portland, they said about him in Raleigh too. But here's the thing that they don't talk about with Carolina. They talk about, oh, he's not investing in the support staff, and he's lowballing coaching staff members. When it comes to spending on the roster, he never underspends. He never underspends. He does exactly what is necessary, he feels, in order for the team to be competitive. Whatever that takes, whatever that number is, he has met that mark. And Carolina, being the wagon they've been every year that he has owned the team, following a stretch where Carolina missed the playoffs 9 straight years, he deserves credit for that. Oh, but he got lucky with Rod Brindamore already being there. Rod was an assistant coach on the staff that he fired. Or a head coach took another job pardon for Calgary. And he decided to hire someone from the previous regime, which not every owner would do. Tom Dundon did. Tom Dundon deserves a lot of credit. Maybe it'd be wise, rather than jumping to a conclusion and calling a guy who just paid over $4 billion for a franchise cheap, it might be wise to give him the benefit of the doubt considering what the other team he runs has been doing. Third thing, Rod Brindamore has become one of the best stories in sports. Since moving from Hartford to North Carolina, from the Whalers to the Hurricanes, the Canes have won exactly 99 playoff games. Rod Brindamore has either been a player or the head coach for 97 of the 99. One of the craziest stats in sports. He was the captain for the Stanley Cup champs 20 years ago. How special, how magical of a story would it be? What's the closest analog to being the captain of a Stanley Cup champion for the same franchise you lead to another title as the franchise's head coach? That's about as good as it gets. And if you don't find any of those 3 storylines to be interesting, you might not have a pulse. Because that is pretty special stuff. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals set for Tuesday in Raleigh, North Carolina. Sean McDonough will be calling the series on television from ESPN and ABC. He'll be our guest on the Josh Graham Show Sunday. Will Dalton, to close out today's program, what do we got? And put it to bed.
Find out why Jell-O shots led to a 911 call.
That's next on the Josh Graham Show.
It's the 2 best words in sports. Game 7. Thunder, Spurs, Wemby versus SGA. One more time. An entire season comes down to this. Tonight, winner advances to the NBA Finals. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
Westwood One Sports presents Josh Graham.
In review, The Bears should be favored to win the NFC North. The Carolina Hurricanes rock. And the San Antonio Spurs are going to win Game 7 tonight against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Does that pretty much wrap up the show, sum up the show pretty well? Or did we learn anything from the Sarah Sivian conversation? Appreciate her visit from Bleacher Report and the Too Many Men podcast. Maybe that we shouldn't mock bars that charge $20 per drink that also have turf on the ground. Cisco in Boston is what I think she was talking about. And maybe we should go back to wearing suits at games again, the way that we used to. That seems to be a popular takeaway. Make sure, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast, searching Westwood One Sports Night, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. You can find the pods there. Also, how about the YouTube channel? Westwood One Sports Night is where...
Oh, now what could that
Really?
mean?
Oh, you're a lot
What
more
could that
willing to
mean?
jump in now, I've noticed.
Well, I mean, listen, it's the end of the show. We're putting a bow on things. We got to give people an update. Because the number one team in the country, I don't even talk about Carolina ECU, the fact that they're tied up 3-3 right now. And I don't want to talk about that.
They
UCLA
just got out of a jam, too.
is in a
Carolina.
little bit of trouble here. UCLA in a little bit of trouble against Virginia Tech. They're down 4-3 in the bottom of the 8th. Number one team in the country, so that's an interesting spot. And listen to this, NC State
You
at the
know,
Auburn
aren't you
Regional?
listening to Brick Ripsaw on YouTube? No one
I'm
cares
not
about college
listening to
baseball or
Brick.
softball.
Well, according to him, nobody cares about the Hurricanes or anything like that either. Nobody cares about anything.
I didn't read
But
that
at the
part,
Auburn
sorry.
Regional, NC State's not going away. Top of the 9th, it is 17-13. Auburn. And yes, your Pirates and my Tar Heels tied 3-3.
What on earth is happening in Baltimore? The Orioles were down
nothing good.
4-1 in the 9th, and then it became 5-1, and I just started getting sad. I now look down, Will, and you know what the story of this game's been? The Orioles had the bases loaded in the 4th with 1 out, grounded into an ending double play. They had the bases loaded in the 5th with 1 out. Guess what happens? Grounded into an inning-ending double play. With 1 out in the bottom of the 9th, the bases are loaded, and the Orioles are trailing by 2. 5-1.
Oh, no.
If they ground into a double play here, I won't be here tomorrow. Someone else is going to be talking to Sean McDonough. Maybe Will. I don't know. I'm just going to be very... And it's a 3-1 count. And Will, who was the pitcher that was on the mound that got out of those 2 jams despite 7 walks? You remember?
Was it? No, who was it?
East Carolina Pirate, Trey Savage.
Trey Savage.
My
Trey
world's
Trey Savage.
colliding, right?
You're colliding.
Who's on the mound in the 9th? East Carolina Pirate Jeff Hoffman, who just walked the bases loaded. 5-4.
Oh.
Bases loaded, bottom 9. Drama, Will. Drama. How about, as I'm so clearly distracted right now, you're the one that, by the way, put us into this rut talking baseball. I was talking about,
I did.
classing
I did
it
do
up
that.
at games as I wear a T-shirt and a baseball hat during the show. They're taking Hoffman out with 1 out in the 9th. This is nuts. How about we close the show before throwing things to Pete Souza with Put It to Bed?
So, were you a Jell-O shot guy in college or ever?
No.
You were never into Jell-O shots?
I'm not a big fan of gelatin.
I see.
No, I'm not a big fan.
Well, this woman is, and it got her in a little bit. Now she's 68. It got her in a little bit of trouble. Her name's Diane, and she pulled up to a place called the Nowhere Bar. Interesting name for a bar. I kind of dig it. Yeah, I kind of like it. And she made a scene because she wanted Jell-O shots. She really did. And the bar would not give her said Jell-O shots because they don't do Jell-O shots there. at the Nowhere Bar. And she then, not only is she causing a scene, she calls 911. And she tries to, like, I don't know what she was trying to do. She was trying to get the bar in trouble, I guess, for not giving her what she wanted. And they end up coming to the scene, and after the fact, they actually found that she had possession of more than 20 grams of marijuana. So
the weed.
Yeah. Not great. They got her with trespassing too. Yeah. She didn't have a ride home after that. It was a tough night for her. It really was.
I just need to know, what's the source? We cite our sources. Works cited page. Go back to high school. Give me your, what's the word, the last page. It's not references. It's what's the word that you have to cite? Your works cited page. There's a word. It's one word.
The appendix?
No. That's the beginning.
Not it.
At the end. But just tell me what your source is.
Oh, it's WFTV 9 in Florida.
Oh, I got it. Of course it's in Florida.
Yeah.
Is it bibliography?
I think it is the works cited page.
No.
The bibliography.
I feel like there's another word that sounds more fancy, like your pinky finger up. Oh,
It's the bibliography.
Okay.
It is. Yeah.
Will Dalton, I'm in a glass cage of emotion. Because, again, the Orioles have been awful. In this series, 1 of 17 with runners in scoring position, leaving 20 runners on. The bases are loaded. It's 5-4, bottom 9. And the Toronto pitcher that just replaced the ECU guy that couldn't throw strikes is in a 3-0 count with the next guy, which is Adley Rutschman. How cool would it be? See, there's a thing called the hard out that's going to hit in a minute. Mm-hmm. How cool would it be if the Orioles were to walk it off? Or, for comedic effect, for the third time in this game, ground into an inning-ending double play in the next 40 seconds.
It'd be very entertaining. As somebody who's watched you do this many, many times on air with the Orioles, it never misses. It always hits every single time. Never gets old.
Adley just lined it foul. That means we have time for one more pitch.
Uh-oh.
All right? They could tie it with a walk. They could bat one up the middle. They could ground into a double play. This is the part where I'm staring at the pitch clock. Don't ask for time.
Oh,
You just
you're
asked
not
for
going to
time.
get it, are you?
This is what we call a tease. This has been the Josh Graham Show.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the Tone, the broadcast will be